The great meeting hall of the Galactic Coalition fell silent. 300 representatives from across the stars sat in worried circles, their many eyes fixed on the hologram floating in the center. The image showed another solar system going, dark, consumed by the unstoppable void swarm. "That makes 12 systems lost in just 60 days, said Director Loom, his blue skin pale with worry. His long fingers tapped nervously on the round table. "Our best weapons barely slow them down." The coalition had existed for over 2,000 years. It had brought peace to thousands of worlds. Its members were civilized, thoughtful beings who solved problems through discussion and careful planning. Violence was rare. War was almost forgotten, until the void swarm appeared. "We cannot match their numbers," said General Pax, her forearms crossed tightly against her chest. "They reproduce too quickly. For every one we destroy, 10 more take its place." Ambassador Trell watched the worried faces around him. He was older than most, his gray skin wrinkled from 300 years of diplomatic service. In all that time, he had never seen such fear in the council. "Perhaps," Trell said, standing slowly on his thin legs, "it is time we consider the forbidden option." The room erupted in shocked whispers. Director Loom's eyes widened. "You cannot possibly mean Earth," Trell said firmly. "I mean Earth." The EO whispers turned to gasps. Some representatives stood in protest. Others simply stared in disbelief. "Earth has been quarantined for a reason, Ambassador," said General Pax. "The humans are too dangerous, too unpredictable." Trell nodded. "Yes, that is exactly why we need them now." He walked to the center of the room and waved his hand through the hologram, changing the image. Now it showed a blue-green planet, swirling, with white clouds. Earth. Classification: Deathworld, Trell explained. Gravity 1.3 times our standard. Oxygen levels that would intoxicate most of us. Temperature swings that would kill many species in this room. Storms, earthquakes, floods, droughts. He paused. And that's just the planet itself. The room was completely silent now. "The humans evolved on this hostile world," Trell continued. "Their bodies are dense with muscle, their bones thick with calcium. Their immune systems attack anything foreign with shocking aggression. They can survive injuries that would kill any of us. They can go days without sleep, weeks without food." "We know all this," interrupted Director Loom. "That's why we quarantined them 50 years ago when we discovered their world. They are savages." Trell shook his head. "No, they are survivors. They are fighters, and right now, we need fighters." He changed the hologram again, showing images from Earth's history. Humans building cities. Humans exploring their world. Humans fighting wars. "Look at what they accomplished in just a few thousand years," Trell said. "While we were carefully managing stable worlds, they were battling their planet every day just to survive. They don't give up. They don't surrender." General Pax stepped forward. "The ambassador may be right," she said reluctantly. "My military analysts say we will lose this war within 1 year if nothing changes. The void swarm adapts too quickly to our strategies." "And you think these humans won't be destroyed just as easily?" asked Director Loom. "I think," said Trell, "that the swarm has never faced creatures from a death world before." The debate lasted for 3 days. Many argued that releasing humans into the galaxy was more dangerous than the void swarm itself. Others said they had no choice. In the end, fear of extinction won. 7 days later, a coalition ship entered Earth's solar system, breaking the quarantine for the first time. It moved carefully past the human defense satellites and stations. Earth had achieved space travel but was still confined to its own system by coalition law. In a secure room deep within the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, alarms sounded. "Unknown ship approaching, Captain," reported Officer Davis, her fingers flying across the control panel. "Definitely not one of ours." Captain James Walker nodded calmly. He was a tall man with short brown hair and steady eyes. 20 years in the Defense Force had taught him to stay cool under pressure. "First contact," he said quietly. "Put it on screen." The wall screen lit up, showing a sleek silver ship unlike anything humans had built. It was beautiful and strange. "They're sending a message, sir," said Davis. "Our computers are translating. They say they come in peace. They're requesting permission to land." Walker studied the ship on the screen. Humanity had known they weren't alone for decades. The strange satellites at the edge of their solar system made that clear, but the aliens had never made contact before. "Something big must have happened," Walker said. "Tell them permission granted. Alert the president and prepare the landing zone." 3 hours later, Walker stood at the designated landing area, surrounded by security teams. The alien ship descended silently, landing with perfect precision on the marked spot. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a door opened, and 3 figures emerged. They were nothing like the monsters of human science fiction. They were slim, graceful beings with gray skin and large, thoughtful eyes. They moved carefully, as if Earth's gravity was uncomfortable. For them, the tallest one stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Trell of the Galactic Coalition," he said, his voice translated by a small device at his throat. "We come to Earth with urgent need." Walker stepped forward and nodded respectfully. "Captain James Walker, United Earth Defense Force, welcome to Earth, Ambassador." Trell looked at the humans around him with an expression Walker couldn't read. Was it fear, respect, disgust? "Captain Walker," said Trell, his voice solemn, "my people face extinction. We need your help." Later, in a secure conference room, Trell showed them recordings of the Void Swarm. Black, insect-like creatures moving in perfect coordination, stripping planets bare, multiplying endlessly. "They consume everything," Trell explained. "They adapt to every weapon we use. They learn from every defeat. We cannot match their numbers or their speed." "And you think we can help?" asked President Rivera, who had joined the meeting. "We know you can," said Trell. "Your people evolved on a world that tried to kill you every day. You learned to fight, to survive, to win against impossible odds." He looked at each human in the room. "We need that now." Walker studied the recordings closely. His mind was already analyzing weaknesses, forming strategies, considering options. It was what humans did best. "How many ships can you provide?" Walker asked. "What weapons do you have? How many of our people can you transport?" The other aliens with Trell looked surprised by these immediate, practical questions. They had expected hesitation, fear, maybe refusal. Trell smiled for the first time. "You see," he said to his companions, "this is why we came to Earth." He turned back to the humans. "We broke our own laws to come here. Some of my people believe that unleashing humans on the galaxy is more dangerous than the Void Swarm itself." His eyes fixed on Walker. "They fear what you might do once this crisis ends." Walker nodded, understanding. "They're right to be cautious. Humans can be dangerous." He stood up straighter. "But we protect our allies, Ambassador. If you trust us, we'll fight for you like we're fighting for our own." Trell nodded slowly. "Then welcome to the stars, Deathworlders. The galaxy needs you now." The coalition ship Harmony glided through space with Captain Walker and his newly formed team on board. Ambassador Trell had requested a small group of Earth's finest to assess the Void Swarm threat before committing more human forces. Walker had chosen carefully. Anna Reed stood at the viewing window watching stars streak by. She was the tactical expert with 15 years of combat experience and a mind that could see patterns in chaos. Her short red hair and focused eyes gave her a sharp appearance that matched her thinking. "It still doesn't feel real," she said, not turning from the window. "Yesterday we were stuck in our solar system. Today we're traveling faster than light." Behind her, Marcus Bell laughed. He was examining a panel of coalition technology with the excitement of a child with a new toy. As the team's engineer, everything on the ship fascinated him. "The physics alone will keep Earth scientists busy for decades," Marcus said, his dark fingers tracing circuits he barely understood. "Their energy systems are incredible." Raj Kumar, the science specialist, nodded in agreement. His calm voice carried across the room. "And yet they've never developed effective weapons. Their entire civilization evolved without serious predators or resource competition. They never needed to fight to survive. The fourth member of the team, Elena Diaz, looked up from her notes. As the diplomat, she had spent the journey learning everything she could about coalition culture. They see violence as a failure of intelligence, Elena said. They're genuinely shocked that we find it so natural. Walker nodded. He had noticed how the coalition crew watched them, with fear, with curiosity, sometimes with disgust. The humans made them nervous simply by existing. They need us now, Walker said simply. Let's make sure we understand exactly what we're facing. The door slid open and Ambassador Trell entered with 3 coalition officers. One was General Pax, who Walker had met during video conferences. The other 2 were new, a medical officer named Vril and a science director named Morrow. Captain Walker, Trell said with a slight bow, we will reach Coalition Command in 6 hours. Before then, I thought it would be helpful for our medical and science teams to learn more about human physiology. Walker nodded. Of course. Medical. Officer Vril stepped forward, holding a scanning device. With your permission, she said hesitantly. Go ahead, Walker replied. Vril moved the scanner over Walker's body, watching the readings with widening eyes. The device beeped rapidly. This can't be correct, she muttered. Your muscle density is, and your bone structure. She looked up at Walker. Your species evolved to withstand tremendous physical trauma. We break bones sometimes, Anna said with a shrug. They heal. Vril stared at her. You speak of broken bones so casually. For most coalition species, a broken limb would be a life-altering injury. What about your immune response? Asked Science Director Morrow, studying a different set of readings. It shows constant activity. Are you ill? Raj smiled. No. Human immune systems are always active, always fighting. Our bodies are battlefields every day. The coalition officers exchanged troubled looks. Perhaps a practical demonstration would help, Walker suggested. Anna, would you mind? Anna nodded and moved to an open area of the room. Without warning, she dropped to the floor and began a series of rapid push-ups, then jumped to her feet, and performed high kicks that showed remarkable flexibility. The coalition officers stepped back in alarm. This is light exercise, Anna explained, not even breathing hard. Most humans do this daily. For fun, added Marcus with a grin. Medical Officer Vril looked faint. The strain on your joints, the oxygen consumption, at home, this would be considered self-harm. Walker noticed General Pax watching with a different expression, not disgust but calculation. She was seeing weapons where her colleagues saw monsters. Perhaps we should discuss the Void Swarm, Pax suggested. That is why you're here, after all. She activated a hologram in the center of the room. It showed the insect-like creatures swarming over a planet. This was Colony World 47, she said. Population 3 million. The swarm took it in less than 2 days. The humans gathered around the hologram, studying it with focused intensity. Walker noted how the creatures moved, how they coordinated, where they seemed strongest and weakest. They have a hive mind? Raj asked. We believe so, replied Science Director Morrow. They act with perfect coordination. No individual creatures make decisions. Anna circled the hologram. Centralized control means centralized vulnerability. Have you tried targeting their communication systems? We've tried everything, General Pax said. They adapt too quickly. Show, how's your battle tactics? Walker requested. Another hologram appeared, showing coalition ships firing precisely at swarm formations, retreating in perfect order when the swarm advanced, maintaining safe distances at all times. Marcus frowned. You're fighting defensively, predictably. Of course, said General Pax. We minimize casualties while inflicting maximum damage. It is the civilized approach. It's how you lose a war, Anna said bluntly. The swarm has learned your patterns. You need to be unpredictable, aggressive. Elena shot Anna a warning look, but Ambassador Trell nodded slowly. This is why we came to Earth, he said. We need a different perspective. You need fighters, Walker corrected him. He stepped into the hologram, pointing at the swarm formations. Here and here. These are vulnerable points in their defenses. Have you tried concentrated strikes? Sacrificing ships to hit critical targets? The coalition officers looked horrified. Sacrifice ships? With crews aboard? General Pax asked. Never. Sometimes, you have to risk everything to win, Walker said simply. The room fell silent. The divide between their worlds had never seemed wider. Later, as the humans ate together in their quarters, they discussed what they had learned. They're afraid of us, Elena said quietly. I can feel it. They think we're savages. They're right. To be afraid, Raj replied. Humans are dangerous compared to them. We evolved to survive and fight. They evolved to cooperate and avoid conflict. Marcus looked up from the coalition technology he was still studying. They've created wonders. Their medical science, their energy systems, they're far ahead of us in so many ways. Except war, Anna said. And war is coming to them whether they like it or not. Walker listened to his team. Each brought a different perspective, but all understood what they faced. The coalition needed humanity's help, but they feared what that help might bring. We do this right, Walker said firmly. We show them that humans can be warriors without being monsters. We fight the swarm their way first, and if that fails, then we do it our way. Ambassador Trell's voice came over the ship's communication system. Captain Walker, we are approaching Coalition Command. Please prepare your team for arrival. Walker stood. Time to meet the neighbors, he said. Remember, we represent all of Earth now. As they prepared to disembark, Medical Officer Vril approached Walker with a concerned expression. Captain, she said hesitantly, I've analyzed your physiological responses during our discussions. Your species appears to enjoy the prospect of combat. Is this accurate? Walker considered his answer carefully. We don't enjoy suffering or death, Officer Vril, but humans are at their best when facing challenges. We rise to meet threats. It's how we survived our world. Vril nodded slowly. The coalition has forgotten how to fight. We've had peace for too long. She looked directly at Walker. Teach us to survive, Captain. But please remember, we are not Deathworlders like you. We break easily. We'll remember, Walker promised. That's why we fight in the first place, to protect those who need protection. The ship docked at Coalition Command, and the first humans stepped into the galactic community. The Deathworlders had arrived. Coalition Command was a massive space station orbiting a gas giant. Its gleaming halls were filled with representatives from 100 worlds, all now watching the humans with a mixture of hope and fear. Walker and his team stood before the Coalition. High Council, 12 leaders from the most powerful worlds in the Alliance. Ambassador Trell spoke for nearly an hour, explaining Earth's history and why humans were uniquely qualified to help fight the Void Swarm. When he finished, High Counselor Zen, an elderly being with paper-thin skin and wise eyes, addressed Walker. Directly, Captain, we understand your people are different, but we must ask, will you follow Coalition battle protocols? Our forces use strict rules of engagement to minimize loss of life. Walker stepped forward. With respect, Counselor, those protocols haven't stopped the swarm. We'll work with your forces, but we need freedom to use human tactics. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Counselor Zen looked troubled. What exactly are human tactics? He asked. Anna stepped forward. Unpredictability, aggression, adaptation. We hit hard where they don't expect it. We change our approach constantly and we never follow the same pattern twice. General Pax, standing nearby, nodded slowly. The swarm studies our movements and adapts. Perhaps unpredictability is what we need. Very well, said Counselor Zen after a long pause. You will join General Pax on the defense fleet. But remember, you represent Earth in the galaxy now. What you do here will determine how the Coalition views humanity for generations. Walker nodded seriously. We understand. 2 days later, the human team boarded the Coalition flagship Guardian. They were given quarters and access to all information about the Void Swarm. Raj spent hours studying the creature's biology. Marcus examined coalition weapons and ships. Anna reviewed battle records. Elena worked with coalition officers to improve communication. Walker joined General Pax on the command deck as the fleet prepared to defend a border system from an approaching swarm force. "Your ships are impressive," Walker said, studying the displays. "But your weapons seem restrained." Pax tilted her head. "How so?" "They're precise, clean, designed to disable rather than destroy." Walker pointed to a diagram. "These energy weapons target specific systems. On Earth, we build weapons to completely eliminate threats." "Because you evolved as predators," Pax said. It wasn't a criticism, merely an observation. "Because we learned that hesitation gets people killed," Walker corrected. The conversation ended as alarms sounded throughout the ship. The swarm had arrived earlier than expected. "Battle stations," ordered General Pax. "Deploy in Formation Delta." Walker watched as the coalition ships moved into a perfect defensive pattern. Beautiful, precise, predictable. "Request permission to join tactical control," Walker said. Pax hesitated, then nodded. "Granted." Walker activated his communication link. "Anna, get to tactical. Marcus, engineering. Raj, keep analyzing those swarm patterns. Elena, stay with communications." The swarm ships appeared on the main viewer, thousands of black insect-like vessels moving in perfect coordination. They split into precise formations responding to the coalition pattern. "They've seen this before," Walker muttered. "They know what you're going to do." The battle began. Coalition ships fired their precise weapons. Swarm ships fell, but more took their place. The pattern was clear. The coalition would lose through attrition just as they had in previous battles. Anna arrived at tactical control, breathing hard from running through the ship. She took one look at the battle display and shook her head. "Permission to take tactical lead?" she asked General Pax. After a moment's hesitation, Pax nodded. Anna's fingers flew across the control panel. "All ships break formation. Groups 1 and 3 swing wide to Sector 7. Group 2 full reverse, then accelerate on my mark." Coalition officers stared in shock. The ordered formation was dissolving into chaos. "What are you doing?" demanded a coalition commander. "Making it impossible for the swarm to predict our next move," Anna replied without looking up. The coalition ships moved awkwardly at first, unused to such commands. But as they followed Anna's directions, something remarkable happened. The swarm formations became confused. Their perfect coordination faltered. "Now," Anna ordered. "Group 2, full attack on the central cluster." Coalition ships surged forward, firing into the heart of the swarm. For the first time, the insects seemed unable to adapt quickly enough. "It's working," General Pax said, watching in amazement. In engineering, Marcus worked with coalition technicians to modify their weapons. "Increase power by 30%, he instructed. "Yes, I know it's outside safety parameters, do it anyway." When the modified weapons fired, they tore through swarm ships with unprecedented effectiveness. "The energy signature is completely different," Raj reported from his station. "The swarm hasn't encountered this pattern before. They don't know how to adapt." For 4 hours, the battle raged. Coalition ships took damage, but for the first time, they inflicted more than they received. Anna kept changing tactics, never allowing the swarm to predict their movements. Marcus continued modifying weapons. Raj identified vulnerabilities in swarm formations. Finally, the remaining swarm ships retreated. The coalition crew stood in stunned silence. Then cheers erupted across the command deck. They had won, truly won, for the first time. General Pax approached Walker, her expression a mix of emotions. "Your methods are chaotic, dangerous but effective." "That's humanity in a nutshell," Walker replied with a small smile. Later, the human team gathered in their quarters. Despite the victory, they looked serious. "This was one battle," Walker said. "The swarm will adapt to our tactics. Then we'll create new ones," Anna replied. "We keep changing, keep surprising them." Marcus nodded. "I've been studying their ship designs. They have weaknesses we can exploit. Their central command systems aren't well protected. And I've found patterns in their communication, added Raj. If we can disrupt it, we might break their coordination. Elena looked up from her notes. The coalition officers are impressed, but also frightened. One of them asked me if humans fight their own wars this way. She paused. I didn't know what to tell him. Tell him the truth, Walker said. Humans fight to win because losing means death. We don't have the luxury of holding back. A soft tone announced someone at their door. It slid open to reveal Counselor Zen, who had come from Coalition Command to see the results personally. Captain Walker, he said, his voice tired but respectful. Your tactics have given us the first real victory against the swarm. Thank you, Counselor. Zen stepped further, into the room looking at each human carefully. Today I watched your people in action. You operated without sleep for 20 hours. You made decisions in seconds that our commanders would debate for hours. You took risks that terrified our officers. He paused. You are truly from a different world than ours. Is that good or bad? Elena asked diplomatically. Both, perhaps, Zen replied honestly. The question now is whether the coalition can adapt to your methods before the swarm adapts to them. We'll need more humans, Walker said. A small team can advise, but to really fight this war, we need Earth forces. Zen nodded slowly. The Council has already approved your request. Transport ships are being sent to Earth. Your planet's leaders are selecting soldiers and pilots. He fixed Walker with a serious look. The Deathworlders are being unleashed upon the galaxy, Captain. I pray we have made the right choice. After Zen left, the humans exchanged glances. More humans are coming, Anna said with satisfaction. And with them, Earth weapons and tactics, added Marcus. Walker nodded. Then we'd better make sure the coalition is ready for them, and ready for what comes next, because the swarm will hit back harder than ever. The Deathworlders prepared for war, bringing a fighting spirit the peaceful galaxy had never known. The real test was just beginning. The coalition station buzzed with activity as the Earth transport ships arrived. Walker watched from the observation deck as 5 massive vessels docked, carrying 300 human soldiers, pilots, and specialists. They're here, Anna said, standing beside him. Earth's finest. Walker nodded. And not a moment too soon. The swarm has changed tactics already. In the 3 weeks since their first victory, the Void Swarm had indeed adapted. They no longer formed predictable patterns. They attacked in smaller, faster groups. They seemed to be learning from humanity's playbook. Colonel Pete Wilson, reporting for duty, said a tall, gray-haired man as he stepped through the airlock. Behind him marched rows of human soldiers carrying equipment and weapons. Walker saluted. Welcome to Coalition Space, Colonel. Wilson looked around at the alien station, his experienced eyes taking everything in. Quite a situation you've gotten us into, Captain. First contact, galactic war, all in 1 month. You should see what they eat for breakfast, Walker replied with a small smile. The human forces settled into the station quickly. They set up training areas, weapons labs, and command centers. Coalition aliens watched with a mixture of fascination and alarm as humans transformed their peaceful station into a war machine. In the main conference room, Walker and Colonel Wilson met with General Pax and the Coalition War Council. The swarm has changed, General Pax explained, showing holographic maps of recent attacks. They've become more aggressive, less predictable. They're learning. That's what makes them dangerous, Wilson said. But we've brought something they haven't seen yet. He activated a display showing Earth weapons and vehicles, armored suits that could withstand vacuum and radiation, weapons designed to cause maximum damage, ships built for speed and power rather than efficiency. These are not defensive technologies, said a coalition commander looking troubled. No, Wilson agreed simply. They're weapons built by people who evolved fighting predators and each other. We don't build to minimize damage, we build to win. Anna had been working closely with coalition pilots. She stepped forward. I've developed training programs for your forces, she said. Not all of your species can match human reflexes or endurance, but you can learn our tactics. Over the next days, humans began training coalition forces. Most alien species couldn't match human physical capabilities. They tired more quickly, moved more carefully, and avoided pain at all costs. But they learned. Marcus worked in the engineering labs with coalition scientists, modifying their ships and weapons. More power, less precision, he kept saying. The swarm adapts to patterns. We need weapons that are powerful enough to win before they can adapt. Raj spent his time studying the latest swarm movements. They're changing, but so are we, he told Walker during a late briefing. I've identified what might be their central communication hub, a larger ship that always stays protected in the center of their formations. Elena faced perhaps the hardest task, helping coalition species understand human methods while reassuring them that humans weren't going to take over once the swarm was defeated. They're still afraid of us, she told Walker privately. Every time they see humans training or testing weapons, I can see the fear in their eyes. Give them time, Walker said. They need to see that we fight hard, but we also care deeply. That opportunity came sooner than expected. Alarms blared throughout the station. The swarm had launched a massive attack against a heavily populated coalition world. All forces deploy, ordered General Pax. This is not a drill. Humans and coalition forces boarded their ships together. For the first time, human pilots flew coalition vessels, and coalition officers commanded human soldiers. Walker joined Colonel Wilson on the command ship. Elena stayed behind to coordinate communications. Raj and Marcus would monitor swarm patterns from tactical. As they approached the besieged planet, the horror became clear. Thousands of swarm ships surrounded the world. On the surface, insect creatures had already landed, attacking cities and settlements. This is their biggest attack yet, General Pax said, her voice tight. There are 20 million people on that planet. Colonel Wilson studied the tactical display. They're testing our new combined forces, seeing how we respond. Then let's show them, Walker said. The battle began. Human pilots flew in ways coalition ships had never moved before, diving, spinning, accelerating beyond safety limits. Human weapons officers fired with a precision born from centuries of warfare, but the swarm was massive, too massive. We're not making enough impact, Colonel Wilson reported grimly. There are too many of them. Raj's voice came over the communication system. Captain, I've confirmed the location of their central command ship. It's deep within their formation, heavily protected. Walker looked at the display. Reaching that ship would mean flying through the heart of the swarm. No ship could survive that journey. If we take out that command ship, what happens? He asked. Theory suggests their coordination would collapse, Raj replied. But it's just a theory. Walker turned to General Pax. I need your fastest ship. Pax stared at him. You cannot be suggesting a direct strike on their command ship. Walker finished for her. Yes, that's exactly what I'm suggesting. It's a suicide mission, Colonel Wilson said quietly. Walker nodded. Probably, but if it works, we save 20 million people. The command deck fell silent. Coalition officers looked shocked. Even humans seemed troubled by the idea. I'll go, Walker said firmly. Volunteer-only mission, not alone. Anna's voice came over the comm. She had been leading a fighter squadron. I'm coming with you. Me too, Marcus added from tactical. You'll need an engineer to modify the ship's systems. General Pax shook her head in disbelief. You would sacrifice yourselves, knowingly, to save others? Yes, Walker replied simply. It's what humans do. Within minutes, the three humans boarded the Starlight, the Coalition's fastest scout ship. Marcus immediately began modifying its engines and shields, pushing them beyond safety limits. This is going to be a rough ride, he warned. Anna took the pilot seat. When is it not? Walker contacted the command ship one last time. If this works, the swarm will be vulnerable. Hit them with everything you've got. Colonel Wilson's voice was solemn. Good luck, Captain. Earth is proud of you. The Starlight launched, accelerating toward the massive swarm formation. Anna flew with incredible skill, weaving through enemy ships. Coalition and human forces provided covering fire, creating a path. "We're taking heavy damage," Marcus reported as the ship shuddered. "Shields at 40%. "Keep going," Walker ordered. On the command ship, Coalition officers watched in stunned silence. General Pack stood beside Colonel Wilson. "I don't understand," she said quietly. "Why would they do this?" "Because sometimes that's what it takes," Wilson replied. "Humans learned long ago that survival sometimes requires sacrifice." The Starlight penetrated deeper into the swarm formation, taking hit after hit. Its shields failed. Hull breaches began. Still, Anna kept flying. "There it is," Walker said, pointing at the massive command ship now visible ahead. "Target all weapons." "Weapons locked," Marcus confirmed. "But we'll need to get closer." The Starlight was falling apart around them. Life support systems failed. Emergency lights flashed. "Close enough?" Anna asked, her voice strained as she guided the dying ship. Walker looked at the readings. "Perfect." "For Earth," Marcus said. "For everyone," Walker corrected him. He pressed the firing control. From the command ship, Colonel Wilson watched as the Starlight crashed into the swarm command vessel. Both ships erupted in a massive explosion that rippled through the swarm formation. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, remarkably, the perfect coordination of the swarm began to falter. Ships moved erratically. Some collided with each other. Others fired randomly. "It worked," General Pax whispered. "Their central control is gone." Colonel Wilson's voice was firm. "All forces, attack now. Don't give them time to establish a new command structure." The combined coalition and human fleet surged forward. Without coordination, the swarm couldn't adapt or respond effectively. For the first time, the seemingly endless insects began to retreat. As the battle turned, rescue ships searched for survivors from the Starlight. Against all odds, they found an escape pod floating amid the debris. Inside were Walker, Anna, and Marcus, injured, exposed to vacuum for brief periods, but alive. They had launched the pod moments before impact, using the explosion to hide their escape. When they were brought to the medical bay, General Pax was waiting. "You should be dead," she said, looking at their injuries with amazement. "Any coalition species would be." Walker managed a weak smile through his pain. "Deathworlders, remember? We're hard to kill." As medical staff treated their injuries, Elena rushed in. "The planet is secure," she reported. "The swarm is retreating from all sectors. We did it." Walker closed his eyes, exhausted but satisfied. "No, we did it. Humans and coalition together." For the first time since the war began, there was real hope. The void swarm could be defeated. The tide had turned, and the galaxy had learned something important about humans. They fought fiercely not because they loved violence, but because they were willing to die to protect others. 6 months had passed since the destruction of the swarm command ship. 6 months of hard fighting as humans and coalition forces pushed the fragmented swarm back across the galaxy. Without their central coordination, the insects fought with less effectiveness, but their numbers were still vast. Walker stood on the observation deck of Coalition Command, his body finally healed from the injuries sustained during the suicide mission. Beside him stood Ambassador Trell, looking out at the stars. "The swarm has retreated from 37 systems," Trell said. "Your people have achieved in months what we couldn't in years." Walker nodded. "But the job isn't finished. Their main hive world is still out there." Intelligence gathered during the campaign had revealed the source of the Void Swarm, a distant planet where the Queen creature directed the creation of ships and soldiers. As long as it survived, the swarm would eventually rebuild. "The Coalition Council meets today to discuss the final assault," Trell said. "Will you join us?" Of course. The council chamber was filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Many worlds that had remained neutral before had joined the fight after seeing human effectiveness against the swarm. The room fell silent as Walker entered with Trell. High Counselor Zen addressed the assembly. "We stand at a crossroads. Our combined forces have pushed the swarm back to their home system. Now we must decide how to end this threat forever. Colonel Wilson stepped forward with General Pax. Together, they had led the combined fleets to victory after victory. "Our scouts have located the swarm homeworld," Wilson reported. "It's heavily defended by their remaining ships." General Pax activated a hologram showing the swarm planet, a dark world covered with massive hive structures. "According to our calculations, a direct assault would result in unacceptable casualties." "What's the alternative?" asked a council member. Raj stepped forward from where he stood with Marcus and Anna. Over the months, the original human team had become respected, advisors to the coalition. "We've developed a targeted approach," Raj explained. "A small strike team could penetrate the planet's defenses and plant explosives at key points in the main hive structure. Specifically, we need to destroy the Queen Chamber." "A covert mission, rather than a frontal assault," Elena clarified for the council. "Minimal forces, maximum impact." The council members discussed the plan among themselves. Finally, Councillor Zen asked, "Who would undertake such a dangerous mission?" "I will," Walker said immediately. "As will I," added Anna. Marcus nodded. "Count me in." "The three of you again," General Pax said, shaking her head. "After everything you've survived, you volunteer for the most dangerous mission yet." "It's what we do," Walker replied simply. To everyone's surprise, General Pax straightened her forearms in a formal posture. "Then I will join you. My species evolved in tight spaces. My knowledge of tunnel systems will be valuable." The room fell silent. No coalition general had ever volunteered for such a dangerous mission before. "I too will go," said a voice from the back. Medical Officer Vril stepped forward. "The swarm's biology is my specialty. You will need me to locate the Queen." One by one, coalition representatives volunteered their best people. What had begun as a human mission became truly combined. 5 humans and 5 coalition members from different species, each bringing unique skills. 2 days later, the strike team gathered at the launch bay. Their small stealth ship was loaded, with weapons and explosives. Friends and colleagues came to see them off. Colonel Wilson clasped Walker's hand firmly. "Come back alive, Captain. Earth is waiting to meet its new allies." Elena hugged each team member. "Remember the diplomatic protocols I taught you," she told Walker with a small smile. "Just in case you meet any reasonable swarm members." "I doubt we'll be having conversations," Walker replied. Raj handed Walker a small device. "This will help you track the Queen's unique energy signature. Get close enough, and it will lead you right to her." As the team prepared to board, Councillor Zen approached. The elderly alien looked at the mixed group of humans and coalition members with deep emotion. "When we broke the quarantine and went to Earth, many feared we were making a terrible mistake," Zen said. "They said Deathworlders would bring violence to our peaceful galaxy." He paused. "They were right. You brought violence. But you directed it against our enemies, not our friends." The coalition members of the team stood straighter at these words. "We've learned from you," said General Pax. "Not just how to fight, but why to fight." "Good luck to you all," Zen concluded. "The galaxy waits for your return." The mission to the swarm homeworld was everything they expected. Dangerous, difficult, and nearly impossible. Their ship slipped past the defensive fleet using stealth technology developed by Marcus. They landed in a remote area and made their way through dark tunnels toward the central hive. The journey took 3 days. They fought smaller swarm creatures in narrow passages. They placed explosives at key structural points. They rested in brief shifts, humans requiring less sleep than most of their coalition teammates. General Pax navigated the tunnel network with remarkable skill. Medical Officer Vril identified which creatures to avoid and which posed no threat. The humans provided strength and combat skills when needed. It was truly a combined operation. Finally, they reached the central chamber, and there they saw it, the Swarm Queen, a massive insect-like creature 50 meters long, continuously producing eggs that would become ships and soldiers. "There's our target," Walker whispered. They set the final explosives around the chamber. The plan was to detonate them remotely after retreating to a safe distance. But as they worked, the Queen sensed their presence. Alarm pheromones filled the air. Swarm guards began flooding the tunnels behind them. "Our retreat is cut off," reported General Pax after checking their route. Walker looked at the explosives, then at his team. "How long until detonation?" 10 minutes after we activate," Marcus said. "We can't change the timer. We need those 10 minutes for the chain reaction to work." Walker nodded slowly. "Then someone has to stay and make sure these explosives aren't discovered while the rest get as far away as possible." "I'll stay," Walker said. "No," said Medical Officer Vril unexpectedly. "My species can release a pheromone that will mask your scent from the swarm, but it will kill me to produce enough." She looked at each of them. "My lifespan is nearly complete anyway. Let me do this." Before anyone could argue, she began releasing the pheromone. The approaching swarm guard slowed, confused by the scent. "Go," Vril said, her voice already weakening. "I will activate the explosives." With heavy hearts, the team retreated through a secondary tunnel. They moved as quickly as possible, knowing what Vril had sacrificed for them. They had just reached their ship when the ground shook violently. The explosives had detonated. Whether by Vril's hand or by discovery, they would never know. As they launched into space, they watched the chain reaction spread across the planet's surface. Hive structures collapsed. Fires spread. And somewhere, in that destruction, the queen died. The void swarm, without its leader and without its breeding ground, was finished. 3 days later, the strike team returned to Coalition Command. They were welcomed as heroes, not just by their own kind, but by all species. A memorial service was held for Medical Officer Vril, attended by thousands. Later, at a quieter gathering, Ambassador Trell found Walker looking out at the stars again. "What happens now?" Trell asked. "Earth has proven itself to the galaxy. Your people are no longer quarantined. Will you go home or stay among the stars?" Walker considered the question. "Some will go home. Others will want to explore, to learn, to see everything the galaxy has to offer." "And you, Captain?" Trell asked. Walker smiled. "I think I'd like to see more of the universe. After all, we're neighbors now." Trell nodded, but then asked the question that many Coalition members still wondered. "Your people fought brilliantly for us, but now that the threat is gone, what will Deathworlders do in a peaceful galaxy?" Walker looked at the elderly ambassador. "The same thing we did on Earth before you found us. We'll build, we'll create, we'll explore." He paused. "Humans aren't defined by our ability to fight, Ambassador. We're defined by what we choose to fight for." Trell seemed to consider this deeply. "Then the galaxy is fortunate that you chose to fight for us." As news spread that the swarm was defeated, celebrations erupted across Coalition worlds. And on Earth, people looked up at the stars with new understanding. They were no longer alone in the universe. They were part of something greater. The Deathworlders had arrived on the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as protectors. Not as monsters, but as guardians. The aliens had needed help. They got Deathworlders. And the galaxy would never be the same.